North Korea, the reality behind the curtain. North Korea, officially the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, occupies the northern half of the Korean peninsula in East Asia, covering approximately 120,540 square kilometers. It is a country shaped by mountains, highlands, and narrow valleys. Around 80% of North Korea consists of mountains and uplands. Its highest point is Mount Peak 2, rising approximately 2,744 meters above sea level. But this rugged geography also creates major challenges for agriculture and infrastructure. Only around 14 to 17% of the country's land is considered arable. But North Korea's story does not begin with geography. Its modern history changed dramatically in 1910, when Korea was formally annexed by the Empire of Japan. After Japan's defeat in World War II in 1945, the Korean peninsula was divided around the 38th parallel as a temporary arrangement. The Soviet Union occupied the north, while the United States occupied the south. But that temporary division eventually became a permanent political separation. In 1948, two separate states emerged. Then, in June 1950, North Korean forces crossed the 38th parallel, beginning the Korean War. The war stopped in July 1953 with an armistice agreement, but it was not a formal peace treaty. Technically, the conflict was never permanently resolved. Between the two countries lies the Demilitarized Zone, or DMZ, one of the most heavily militarized borders in the world. North Korea's political system is highly centralized and dominated by the Workers' Party of Korea. Political power has remained within the same family lineage for 3 generations. Kim Il-sung, followed by his son Kim Jong-il, and then his grandson Kim Jong-un. One of the state's major ideological foundations is Juche, commonly translated as self-reliance. During the 1990s, the military-first policy, known as Sungun, also became an important part of the country's political system. But beyond the official narrative presented by the state, there is another side to the system. Outside researchers and various reports have described strict surveillance, severe penalties for dissent, and the existence of political prison camps. Economically, North Korea's legal framework remains heavily state-centered. But the reality is more complicated. Particularly during the 1990s, after the public distribution system weakened, informal markets known as jangmadang expanded. These markets became important to the everyday survival of many people. But their exact size, revenue, and the degree of government tolerance are difficult to calculate precisely. North Korea is also not a country without natural resources. It possesses significant deposits of coal, iron ore, magnesite, graphite, and copper. Yet decades of underinvestment, aging infrastructure, and chronic energy shortages have limited its industrial capacity. Despite these economic difficulties, North Korea maintains one of the largest standing militaries in the world. Its active duty personnel are estimated at roughly 1.2 to 1.3 million, supported by a much larger reserve force. The most sensitive part of North Korea's military program is its nuclear capability. Since 2006, the country has conducted underground nuclear tests and has subsequently developed intercontinental ballistic missile capabilities. But an important distinction is necessary. The exact number of operational nuclear warheads and the precise reliability of its missiles during atmospheric re-entry remain subjects of debate among outside analysts. Now, move beyond military power and politics and consider everyday life. North Korea has a population of roughly 26.5 million people. Ordinary citizens work, attend school, shop in markets, and live their daily lives. But many aspects of everyday life remain subject to state monitoring and control. Domestic movement is also not completely unrestricted. Travel between provinces can require official authorization. Historically, North Korean society has also been shaped by a system known as songbon. It classified people according to family background and perceived political loyalty. But how strictly this system operates today remains debated. Testimonies from defectors suggest that wealth generated through informal markets can sometimes weaken traditional social restrictions. Technology creates another striking contradiction. North Korea has a domestic cellular network with millions of subscriptions. Mobile phones are therefore not unfamiliar technology inside the country. But ordinary citizens do not have unrestricted access to the global internet. Instead, many users with access to digital devices rely on Kwangmyong, a national intranet containing approved news, educational material, and domestic websites. So North Korea is not completely disconnected from technology. Rather, its digital environment is far more restricted and controlled than the open internet used in most of the world. North Korea has also been accused of state-sponsored cyber operations involving cryptocurrency and financial theft. Western intelligence agencies and United Nations-related reports have made such allegations, while the North Korean government denies them. For that reason, these claims should be presented as allegations rather than unquestioned facts. Now consider North Korea from the perspective of foreign tourists. Tourism is permitted under tightly controlled conditions. Foreign visitors generally cannot travel independently and are accompanied by state-appointed guides. Tours may include monuments in Pyongyang, the demilitarized zone, historical locations, and designated natural areas. Photography can also be restricted. Visitors may be prohibited from photographing certain military areas, checkpoints, or locations that have not been approved. As a result, what foreign tourists see may not represent every aspect of ordinary life across the country. Now, consider some of the most famous myths. The story of North Korea's unicorn lair became famous around the world, but it did not mean that North Korea had discovered a living biological unicorn. The story was connected to ancient Korean mythology and archaeological heritage. Another famous claim says that North Koreans are legally limited to only 18 approved hairstyles. But there is no solid evidence of such a strict legal menu. There can be strong social and institutional pressure toward conservative hairstyles and clothing, but that is different from a specific law allowing only 18 hairstyles. Then there is the famous satellite imagery showing the Korean peninsula at night, with North Korea appearing remarkably dark. But this does not mean the entire country has no electricity after sunset. Energy shortages and unreliable power supplies are real problems. Yet some major government areas, monuments, and important buildings remain illuminated at night. Rising above the Pyongyang skyline is another symbol of North Korea's ambition, the Ryugyong Hotel. Standing approximately 330 meters tall, construction of the pyramid-shaped structure began in 1987. But economic difficulties and prolonged interruptions caused construction to stall for decades. The building eventually earned the nickname Hotel of Doom. Although its exterior was completed, the condition and use of its interior have remained a major part of the building's unusual history. Then there is Pyongyang's Rungrado 1st of May Stadium, a massive structure famous for large-scale public performances. In such performances, thousands of performers can move together in synchronized formations. These spectacles are also significant because they reveal how North Korea presents itself through enormous public events. But another part of the story lies in the country's minerals, industry, and economy. North Korea possesses valuable natural resources, yet weak, and this contradiction is one of the keys to understanding North Korea. On one side, a large military, a nuclear program, and monumental architecture. On the other, economic limitations, energy shortages, and strict state control. But perhaps the most important point is that not everything we hear about North Korea has the same level of certainty. There is substantial evidence for major parts of the country's history: the Korean War, the 1953 armistice, the three-generation leadership system, Juche, nuclear testing, geography, and military capabilities. But questions such as the exact number of nuclear warheads, certain cyber allegations, the current influence of Songbun, and the precise scale of the informal market economy remain subjects of uncertainty and debate. That is why myths alone cannot explain North Korea. Simple stories about unicorns, 18 hairstyles, or a country that becomes completely dark at night can distort a reality that is already complicated enough. The real North Korea is more complex. It is a country where a large military and advanced missile programs exist alongside economic difficulties and energy shortages, where mobile phones exist, but unrestricted global internet access does not, and where monumental buildings stand alongside a daily life shaped by significant state control. Ultimately, the best way to understand North Korea is not through propaganda or internet myths. It is through evidence, context, and a willingness to question every claim. because the real story of North Korea is far more complicated than the myths surrounding it.